Hey everyone, it's Jordan at the Music Zoo today. I'm really excited about this interview. This is my friend Adam Marino from the legendary band Saetia, but you also have a long storied career in Era Type 11, Instruction, Attempt Survivors.
Correct.
You're a man with a big resume.
And Fires, I'll throw that in there too.
There we go. But today we're talking about Saetia, who just played an incredible show last night at Bowery Ballroom in New York. It was really fun.
Thank you, man.
It was a good time.
Thanks for coming out.
Of course. Let's talk a little bit about your musical beginnings, because I'm really interested in how you first started playing music. Can you tell me, like, where you grew up in Queens and what some of your first musical experiences were as a kid?
Sure. I grew up in Jamaica, between Jamaica and Fresh Meadows. And kind of music started for me around like 12, 13 years old when my older brother gave me a bass that his friend wasn't using, and I kind of started on that. But also simultaneously, my mom had got me a Strat knockoff. So I was playing around with bass and guitar at the same time, and I continued to do that, like 30-something years later, so.
Was there a certain band or anything you saw on like MTV or something that made you stoke the fire to make you want to learn?
From a very early age, I was very interested in music, from my brother's old classic rock records and stuff. But I think it wasn't until hearing Jane's Addiction and Eric Avery's bass lines, which is really, made me feel like I could do it, and also just, put that in my head that it was it was just such a different sound than anything I'd ever heard before. So and that just led me down all these other bands, led me to other bands that I currently still listen to and love.
Right, yeah. What was the pipeline from Jane's to finding hardcore?
Hardcore was through a friend's older brother who was in the New York hardcore scene, and just, I was probably around this is even before, learning about hardcore was more even before going toward an instrument, because I would just skate with my friend and then I'd go to his house, and his older brother would be listening to Agnostic Front and Cro-Mags and stuff like that. And that was my first intro. But also he introduced me to the Smiths and stuff from the UK. So I was getting from, not my older brother, but my friend's older brother was introducing me to that stuff. But I was too young. I was I was seriously 11 years old. So I wasn't going to see Agnostic Front play,
Some people were.
Some people were, but I wasn't.
Your list I've seen your ticket stubs on Instagram. You've seen some pretty legendary New York shows back in the day, like at Roseland or places like that, right? Are there any standouts?
Nirvana and the Jesus Lizard at Roseland is I only got to see Nirvana once, but it was a pretty amazing show. Yeah. Sonic Youth stands out to me on the Dirty Tour, Ned's Atomic Dustbin, Slayer at Roseland.
Oof, rough.
So saw a lot of amazing shows growing up.
Did you have high school bands before Saetia started? Because you guys were pretty young starting Saetia, right?
I was in one band with two friends. It was an instrumental band, kind of. There's a band on Sub Pop called Five Style. It was guys from Tortoise and stuff, and it was kind of funk, but progressive. And we were doing a band that style, and I was playing guitar in that, and the band was called Suplex, and we played a talent show at Cardoza.
Yeah.
In Bayside.
My alma mater, high school. I went there, yeah. Those were some of the first shows I ever played.
That was the first time I ever played in front of people, was at Cardoza in the auditorium.
Nice.
And we played 3 songs, and that was the only time we ever played, and we did a demo on a 4-track, and
That's perfect.
That was it. And then after that, it was Saetia.
It's a pretty good career path. There we go. I want to talk about a little bit of, I guess we'll get into how the lore of Saetia grew over time, but you guys just started the demo. We're going to get a little bit into gear from the get-go. So, do you remember what you were playing on the demo?
Yes, absolutely. I was playing a Les Paul Studio in wine red with gold hardware.
Perfect guitar for the mid-90s.
Right. DiMarzio Cliff Strap, which I'm still using to this day. And this is where things went really wrong. It was a JCM 900 with a Boss Hyper Metal pedal.
I think that's admirable.
Is it though?
I think. Well, I guess hindsight's 20/20, right?
And when I listen to those songs on the demo, I just hate the way my guitar sounds on it. When it goes to the distorted parts, I think not so much the amp, but I think that pedal was just a poor choice. But it was also I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know about good tone or anything.
Right.
I was just like,
It's good tone of the 90s, yeah.
yeah.
But you were like, what was it? You were an NYU students. You go to NYU?
I didn't go to NYU. I was the one guy in the band that didn't go to NYU.
Right, Billy went.
Billy went, Jamie went, Alex,
Okay,
Greg.
gotcha.
Yeah, it was all the other.
I didn't know it was a 900 because I was listening to it in the car on the way here. I was like, it's such a dry. I almost thought you were doing like DIs for the cleans or something, but
No, that was a 900.
just a 900.
Yeah.
Zero reverb.
Zero reverb.
Nothing.
Yeah, I still put zero reverb.
Yeah. Just dry, straight to the point.
Yeah.
But I think that's the point of like Saetia's music is pretty cut and dry, direct.
Yeah, it's like pretty jarring, right? It's like goes from like kind of pretty clean to like just explosive.
Yeah. And I just noticed too that a fellow by the name of Ron Thal recorded the demo, but
did.
Ron Thal turned into Bumblefoot, who played in
Guns N'
Guns N' Roses as it, and he's like a super shredder now.
Yeah.
Was he all about that back then, or was he just a fella that you knew that could record?
He was recommended to us from the folks in Indecision because they had recorded with him, and so we knew that they recorded with him, and we were friendly with them via like Crucial Chaos and all the NYU radio stations. So we were just like, oh, we're ready to record our demo. So we just went to him.
Right.
And it was just kind of like he was in a basement in Brooklyn, his house, and that's where we did it in like a day, you know?
I love it. Yeah, was he...
And I'm really glad I didn't know what a sick guitar player he was because it was already like a really nerve-wracking experience, like my first time in a recording studio.
Right, for sure.
And just like if I would have known that he's like some amazing guitar player, I would have been even more nervous, you know?
Right. I'm curious as to when Saetia first started, like what were the bands you guys were all collectively listening to create like the sum of what came out of Saetia?
It's funny, there wasn't a lot. There wasn't a, like, there were a few things, you know, we all liked New York hardcore. Some guys leaned really heavily more into like Youth Crew stuff, you know, that they really liked. Some guys leaned a little bit more into like the crustier stuff. We all loved Burn, you know, Burn was a band that we all really liked.
Yeah.
But and then there was stuff like kind of within our genre that we all collectively liked, like Sleepy Time Trio and 400 Years. But there really wasn't a lot, and I think that really lent to like what made our sound kind of a little bit more interesting was because, you know, I was leaning way more into like alternative music and hip hop, and you know, Greg, our original drummer, was like super into Joy Division. You know, so like there's just like we were all pulling from different things. And like, yeah, there were some bands that we all kind of collectively, like, you know, Fugazi, we all loved Fugazi, right? But we all had very, very different musical tastes.
I started laughing because I know that Greg was also the drummer in Interpol,
yes.
right? As they first started. So it's funny when you say he liked Joy Division.
Right.
Let's put two and two together. I wonder why they got him for Interpol. How did songwriting work with you guys? Were you all just jamming in the room, figuring out riffs, or was there a primary songwriter? Was it all collaborative?
We were all very collaborative. You know, a lot of times Jamie would come in, our original guitar player, the guitar player would come in with a riff, and then we would all just like, you know, write around that.
Yeah.
And Billy would always be kind of sitting in the corner just listening. And to this day, even like with our newer stuff, like I didn't hear his vocals until he recorded them.
I can relate to that pretty heavily, yeah.
Yeah, so it's, I really like that though, because it's almost like you're getting this like surprise at the end of like the music being completed. But we've continued to write like that. And yeah, so it's always been like, you know, I bring in a riff and then everyone's kind of working around that, or Jamie brought in a riff, or Colin brought in a bass line, or it started with like maybe a drum beat that Greg did, and we're all kind of working to that. But yeah, it was a very collaborative.
Yeah. I realized yesterday I have to give Colin his props because he's such a terrific bass player, and he's
an unreal bass
such
player.
A prominent part of Saetia's music, and kind of like I know Saetia's comes from like a Miles Davis reference, right? But there's a bit of jazziness to it that I think comes from his bass playing.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the way Jamie played guitar was very jazz influenced. Whereas my playing, like I was always writing around that, but I'm not a jazz type player. Yeah. So, you know, again, which I think makes for the way we sound is because it's not like you have five guys that are just listening to the same thing and playing the same way. It's not even about listening, but the way we all play is so different from each other that when you put it together, it just makes for our sound.
Yeah, I was noticing yesterday while you were playing. I've seen you play a couple times before, but like you have that great like 90s rhythm elbow pivoting right for your rhythm playing. It's that 90s like almost like punky like Kurt Cobain kind of thing.
Oh, okay. I
don't know.
never
That was
noticed
my
that.
observation at
Yeah.
least. Anyway, who was doing the odd time signatures, or was it on purpose or completely like were you guys trying on impulse?
I think that came from like the jazzier side of things, where I was, time signatures. I wasn't. When I write, I'm never thinking about like I need to make this like kind of a weird time signature. I'm just going with what feels good,
Right.
and I'm always thinking about like melody, within the chaos of a Saetia song. You
Right.
know, for me, that's like I feel like my contribution into the band is like putting this something that is almost like in a genre that's not typically known for like a chorus or something like that. It's more like 12 parts in one song, and we definitely have that, but I'm always trying to sneak in some more melodic
Right, like some sort of like center point or something.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever tour across the states, or was it always like tri-state, East Coast?
When I was in the band, which was for the first like year, a little over a year, we just did the East Coast, up and down the East Coast. We made it down to Florida, up to like Vermont. But then after I'd left the band did a full US tour and did like Midwest and made it out to California.
What do you remember about the recording of the full length? You were on that, correct?
Yeah. So I'm on the demo and the first 7-inch / demo because
Right.
songs were pulled from that, and then the full length.
Yeah.
And then after the full length is when I had left the band.
Right, but there's only one 7-inch, correct?
One 7-inch, like they recorded 3 more songs, and then Colin moved from bass to my guitar spot.
Yeah.
And then Steve, who plays drums with us now, was the bass player.
Again, we're gonna talk about like hindsight in this. Like, there's so many like legendary songs on it, but like, are there any standout moments from recording the record?
I remember it being very difficult. Like, we were so not prepared to make that record.
Okay.
Like, we had the songs. It's not like we were writing music in the studio, but just even like logistical things about like, how are we getting down there? Like, we didn't figure it out until like a couple of days before. Like, we went and rented a van the morning of, and like, because we recorded the album in DC. So just like things like that you feel like now we are so like on point and prepared for whatever we're doing. We were just like kids that were just like, oh, we're gonna make a record, and we did it, and it happened. But like, we lost a song that we had recorded while we were
really?
there. Yeah, it got erased, and we had to redo it. But by the time we had to redo it, Greg's hands were just like, I mean, they were like blistered, and like he can barely hold sticks, and we had to do a song. So like little things in there that were annoying to me when I listen back to them now are things that I feel like make the songs and the record endearing to people. It's like those imperfections.
Right, you hear like certain parts where you're like, oh, like someone maybe like
I hit a
dropped
bum
pick.
note,
Yeah.
or there's a part in An Open Letter, which is the song that got lost, where at the end it's like a tom part and Greg hits like a rim shot, and it's like because he's literally barely holding on. Like the part should have been longer, but he was like looking at me because we end the song together, and he's like, stop playing because I can't play anymore.
Wow, that's intense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it all happened.
It's part of the magic of the sound, I suppose.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
I don't even remember, like, I used an amp that was at the studio, which was like a no-name. It wasn't like a Marshall or like
I was gonna ask what the
a
gear
Mesa
was.
or anything. It was just some random, it looked like it was like a homemade amp.
Okay.
But he's just like, oh, plug into this, try this. And I used that, and I remember the pedal I used for that record was a Danelectro Daddy-O pedal, was
Wow.
distortion pedal.
Yeah. The little plastic.
It's like the plastic
plastic
yellow.
pedal you would get in like Sam Goody or something like that. Yeah.
That was the pedal I used for that.
Was it
whole,
there, or you just had that
I
pedal?
had that pedal.
There you go.
Yeah. It was funny because I found it like a couple of years ago, like the actual one, and I plugged it in. I'm like, oh my God, this sounds terrible.
Yeah. It wasn't like romantic at all. You were like, you're like, oh, this is takes
when
me
I
back.
found it, I got really excited. I'm like, oh my God, this is the pedal I used on the record. And then I plugged it in. I'm like, how did because I actually like the way my guitar sounds on that record. And I'm just like, how did I get it? He must have EQ'd it in a certain way
for sure.
But like plugging it straight into an amp is like,
was it the same Les Paul Studio?
No, at that point I was playing a Les Paul. I had a 96 Honeyburst Les Paul Standard.
Okay.
That I was like one of those regrets that I sold that guitar.
Yeah. I'm sure there's someone like who's gonna leave a comment being like, please let me buy that Daddy-O for like way too much money that it's worth. But
oh, dude.
You gotta keep it.
I'm keeping
Frame it like in like a acrylic box or something.
It's just in my garage somewhere now because after I plugged it in and played it, I'm like, this thing is terrible. But it's like nostalgia. Like I don't want to get rid of it, you know?
Yeah, it's like Screamo lore. Like it's gonna end up in like
I did post it when
museum.
I found it. I posted it on our Instagram page. Like this is the pedal I use, and someone actually went out and bought it, and they were just like, yeah, this doesn't sound good.
Yeah. Well, at least they're like keeping it real, and it's not like reverb prices are like skyrocketing like the Josh Homme amp from PV or something like that.
Oh, right.
You know, it's like
But that actually sounds good.
Yeah, there's got to be a way that it sounds good. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'll buy one and we'll try it.
I'll bring it to New York with me next time
we'll
so you can try it out.
Danelectro pedals. I guess going off guitars, you have a pretty cool guitar next to you. Neither of us are strangers to Dunable.
Yeah.
So how did you first get involved with them?
I don't remember the first time I saw one. It might have been, no, it wasn't you, but you've had one.
I've had one for a long time.
I don't know. I started seeing them and I thought they were really cool, and I had an opportunity to play one somewhere. And around end of 2018, I was like, yeah, I want one. So I did the whole and at the time, they were selling a lot of them, but it was still very kind of more boutique at that time. And I was emailing with Sasha directly, and I probably annoyed the hell out of him. But he was so cool and helped me just figure out everything I wanted. And at that time, it was I ordered it late 2018, and it arrived February of 2020. And I remember this because it was the month before COVID, and my guitar came, and it was just I was so...
Here to save you.
It really did, man, because at that point, just having that, being on lockdown and really not leaving my house, and having this new guitar was just so important to me. And I wrote so many songs on it, and that, went on to become a Temp Survivor song.
Right,
so, because at that point, Saetia wasn't doing anything.
Right, it wasn't even, you guys didn't even come back until
22.
22, right.
Yeah.
Were any of the new Tendrils songs from the EP written with the Dunable?
Yeah, they were all with the Dunable.
Right on.
Yeah.
What are the pickups you're using in it?
The Direwolf.
Okay, cool. It's kind of hotter.
Hotter,
right?
yeah.
I'm trying to look over your shoulder. I think let's see it. Is it mahogany?
It's a swamp ash body. Ebony fretboard, Direwolf pickups. I had him put a mastery bridge on it, and I had him normally the pickup switch selectors up here. And the way I play, I felt like the one I tried, I was constantly knocking into it.
Right, totally.
So I just had him put it down by the bridge.
I don't know where mine is. I think mine is up there too.
And don't you have another selector on yours?
I have the Jerry Garcia switches for on my personal Yeti. I have phase and coil split, but I didn't order it like that. That was just a guitar. I think it was 2016. We had a big, crazy guitar event at the Music Zoo, and Sasha came, and he brought 8 guitars. There was just one standout where I was like, that's gotta be my guitar. So I was like, I didn't order it. I just thought it was special and took it home. And it's been my main guitar. We've played shows together.
Yeah. We have a great picture of our Dunables together.
Yeah, but the coil split and the phase switching is really fun. It's I can make whole records with one guitar because there's so many different sounds you can get out of it. And you just got a DE model, right?
I did,
You took it to Chile?
I took it to Chile. That was
awesome.
That was my first shows with it.
Nice. Shout out Jordan Olds.
Definite. Jordan, you're the best. Thank you.
How did it hold up overseas? Was it fun?
It was great, man. Yeah. I just I brought it in for a setup right before I left, and traveled. The headstock was still intact when I got there. And it sounded great, played great. There's definitely little differences I noticed between the DE and this guitar. But overall, it's like, the shape is there, the feel is there, the sound is there.
Yeah, it just looks cool.
And to me, it's just like the perfect, like, I love offset guitars. I love SGs. It's kind of marries those two.
Totally, for sure. How do you feel about, I know I was reading Billy's recollection and collection yesterday, and he's like, I try not to be like wistful about it or like overly emotional, but how do you feel about like bringing the band back after so long and the fan base's like reaction? Because I noticed yesterday there was like 15-year-olds there singing along.
Yeah.
To music they were not, and that's not a thing that happens with a lot of music, but they've somehow connected. How do you feel about the whole experience?
I'm just always, I've said this like a million times, but I'm constantly, I don't take a moment of it for granted, and I'm just always just blown away by it every time, because it's just kind of not any, like when we were originally a band, we never played in front of more than 50 people at that time, you know? And this is a 2-year span, and my time was even shorter than that, right? Because I had left the band. So for, over 25 years later to come back and people have this sort of like reaction to the music, and we've heard so many stories from people we've met since doing this reunion, and how the band and the music and the lyrics and everything has just had such a positive impact on their life, or saved them, or whatever it is, and meeting, we've met people that have named their kids Saetia,
No way.
Yeah, it's happened 4 times now.
4 people, wow. That's
4 people.
Awesome.
Yeah, and
it's a good name. It's a good name.
It's a really pretty name, actually,
Yeah.
For someone. But we've met these kids, and one of them that came to our LA show, this family, and they're bringing Saetia to the show again next week. So
that's awesome. That's kind of even more wild than a tattoo. Like everyone has band tattoos. You named your child.
Yeah, I mean, and the band, the flower has become like our, our 4 bars, like,
Yeah,
like,
there's a lot of iconic artwork for sure.
Yeah, and Billy drew that on a napkin in like 10 minutes,
Yeah.
And it's become like it's become our logo,
That's awesome. What do you guys have coming up? You have a great new EP out, which we haven't heard, the Tendrils EP. You should. It's great.
Thank you.
You're going to Europe?
We're going to California next week. We're playing 2 shows,
Nice.
LA and San Diego, and then we are playing 5 shows in Europe starting in beginning of July.
Incredible. That's awesome. Let's end it on that, because I think there's very few opportunities where I have the chance to talk to someone who started/pioneered a genre, but I think they weren't calling it Screamo when you were playing it.
No.
First off, what did you call yourselves when you were describing Saetia to other bands? What did you call it?
We never had to describe it or like, it was just like we were just kind of in like, it was like the ABC No Rio scene,
Okay, yeah.
Which is kind of like the venue that we mostly played at on the Lower East Side. And, it's kind of like just thoughtful type of politically conscious, Food Not Bombs. Like, it wasn't just like going to a Sunday matinee at CB's. Like, there was a little bit more community to it in a different way,
Mm-hmm.
So that was just part of the scene we were part of. So it was kind of like, oh, you're an ABC No Rio band. Or, some people would say we're a hardcore band or a punk band or whatever. But like, yeah, Screamo wasn't like a thing.
Right, that makes sense.
And Scrams was definitely not a thing.
No, definitely not. Yeah, I still don't know what that means, but apparently you invented it. I think that also, I'll add one more thing, is that I think it's a beautiful thing what you guys have done with all the donations to charity. And
thank you.
Is that coming from the ABC No Rio scene, which is super, Food Not Bombs, nonprofit, benefiting people in need kind of thing. Was that what really kept you guys motivated to do these shows?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was the real kind of like sticking point of like, if we're gonna do this, right, like, let's use this opportunity to do something good, And so we really tried to, we came out with those first New York shows and Philadelphia show, and they were all minus one of the New York shows, so they were all benefits.
Right.
And then we did a run of benefit shows for in California. And then we did Chicago, and now we have one more show at the end of this year that's not announced yet, but we're going to be playing in Washington, D.C., and that's going to be a benefit show.
What better place than Fugazi's lineage than
Yeah.
to do a benefit show in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, and that'll be our last show of the year. And then next year we have no plans. So I think, you know, I don't want to say it's like coming to an end, but it's also like we are going to slow down considerably unless there's like some really cool places like Australia or Japan or something that we have not been to yet. But as far as like touring in America or playing New York, and it's like, it's not going to happen. Because, I mean, unless some band's like, hey, do you want to open up for us at Madison Square Garden? We would do it just to be like,
yes,
we played Madison Square Garden,
course,
but like, we're not actively booking shows, you know, next year.
Well, I'm glad we got to play a show together. I'm glad I got to see you again. Thank you so much for your time coming to do this,
Thank
Steve.
you.
You're the
Appreciate
best.
you, man.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Instagram at The Music Zoo. Check out Adam and all his music. Saetia, Attempt Survivors is excellent.
Thank you.
Check out the new Tendrils record, and if you don't have a copy of Collected, you owe it to yourself to check out Saetia and all their legendary music. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
All right, later.